I need a new mega base design. It's as simple as that. Pretty soon I'll be on the new SMP server, and I need to have my mega base planned out before then. Also, do you like my double-decker Santa hat? It's pretty awesome because Optifine apparently adds an extra Santa hat on top of the one that my skin already had, so yeah. If you're here for Season 1 of the Craft server, you'll know that I built a mega base completely in creative mode and then just copied it over beforehand. I didn't make a video about it or anything, which is why I actually kind of want to make a video about this. Also, I'm recording this literally on Christmas Day, at least this part, so that's why I still have a Christmas skin on. Luckily for me, I already know exactly what my mega base is going to be, and I'll tell you in a moment here as well. But I just have to actually get a design for it. I'm not going to be building the entire thing, all the fine details for this video, but I will need, you could say, a frame of it. So I'm just going to say straight away, I'm a Star Wars fan, and we're making a Star Wars themed mega base, which is why we are here on Wikipedia, the Star Wars wiki, which is basically the home of Star Wars nerds. And you may have already guessed it, but my actual channel name is a corruption of Sheev, as in Sheev Palpatine, so my actual channel is a Star Wars reference. We're also sitting here on the Venator-Class Star Destroyer page, and we're on the Legends page as well, because my mega base is going to be a 1/3 scale Venator-Class Star Destroyer from Star Wars. And you can see it right here. It's going to be this. It's going to be an entire 1/3 scale Venator Star Destroyer. Luckily for me, what I'm making as my mega base is something that has like a ridiculous number of images of it. And it has length, width, and height in like actual exact meters laid out for. Obviously, it's just made up, but it does have measurements that I can work with and translated to Minecraft, because I'm not going to be freehand building this just per se. I'm going to literally be breaking all the dimensions down mathematically to make it look as accurate as I possibly can. We're going to be trying to scale it correctly, and we're going to get the proportions as, I guess as good as we can in terms of Minecraft. So like I mentioned, we're going to be building this in a 1/3 scale, meaning what we can do is just bring up our calculator and we can take a look at the actual length, width, and height here that we have on the wiki. So the length is 1,137 meters. We can divide that by 3. We will get 379 meters. So we already know that our length is going to be 379 meters. So we'll do that with the height and the width as well. And our width came out to be 182.6666, yeah, it's to like infinity. So we're just going to round that up to 183 for our width. And our height came out to be 89.333 meters. So similar thing, only we're going to round it down to 89. So our height is 89. So we have all of our dimensions here in meters. And that's actually how many blocks it's going to be as well, because 1 meter is equivalent to 1 block. So that actually makes that really easy. This means that we can actually head back over into Minecraft now and start actually bringing this to life a little bit. You may have noticed these big lines up here, and this was actually a little bit of testing I was doing before. So if we look at the red line is 1/2 scale. I was testing this slightly before making the video just to kind of figure out what scale I wanted, and the red line represents the exact length in meters or blocks if it were a 1/2 scale. And right now my render distance is set to 24 chunks to give you an idea of just how long this is. And so obviously we're not going to be able to do something that can't really fit in the render distance. There's just no point in doing that because it won't look good if you can't see all of it. This blue line, however, represents 1/3 scale. So what I'm going to do is destroy the red line now. So we just have the blue line, and I'm going to start to lay out all the dimensions here for our Venator Star Destroyer so we get an idea of how much space we're going to have. Wow, there we go. We have all 3 dimensions that we need here now. I think you go invisible if you go a certain height. This actually is already looking pretty insane how big it's going to be. And then keep in mind, this is a 1/3 scale. It's not even 1/2 scale. This is 1/3 the actual scale that it would be if it were a real thing, as opposed to just like a digital image. Alright, well, it's time for some math-related stuff again. We're not in Minecraft anymore. We are actually in Photoshop, and I'm using a super awesome reference image by Malte Ulrich. They created this super awesome rendering of the Venator Star Destroyer, and there's a really good top-down picture, which is what I'm using here as our reference guide. So I have a plan that I think will work for actually determining like how many blocks all of the various things here need to be like. So we're just going to go ahead and label this rectangle 379. It doesn't really matter what font it is in. We'll just scale it down. So that rectangle there, let's move that above that. The rectangle there, that's 379. That is the length of our Venator here. And so what we can do is actually drag this until in the very center it starts to snap, and that is actually the exact middle, because Photoshop, it has like a thing where it will snap stuff to the very center of the image. So another thing I know now is that each of these segments here is 189 blocks long, so I can just move these over here, and that, since it's actually an odd number of blocks, I am going to have to compensate for that, because there is actually going to be an exact middle of this thing. There is one block that is the exact middle. Now I need to do a little bit with the width as well, because I need to know how much this actually slopes in at the, I guess, thinnest point in our Venator Star Destroyer. Right, now we're getting something that's similar to what we actually had in Minecraft. Alright, so now I actually have to calculate these measurements myself. So the way that we're going to start this is we're going to take another rectangle from that point there down to that point there, and we'll just leave it blank. And did I not click that? There we go. Let's leave that blank, and that can be the same because that's the width, not the length. We're dealing with the width still right now. So what I can do is I don't really need this here at the moment. So let me copy and paste another one of these, and so I can compare the length against this. It should let me see just exactly how many pixels it is. Alright, so let's put this up here. And so if I click on this, the height of this is 899 pixels. I can slide that around, that'll change at the bottom there. Let's put this back to 899. If I click this, actually that's not exactly lined up. There we go. Now it should be exactly lined up. This is 575. So what I can do is I can go to a calculator. You can't see this, but what I'm doing is I'm dividing 575 by 899, and I get basically 64%. So what I can do now is, let's see, I can times 183, which is the total width, by 0.64, 64%, and I get 117 blocks. So that mathematically should be as close to the exact number of blocks for this area of width as I need. So I was just able to use the pixels to translate that into actual blocks. Okay, so this here is labeled now. I now know that. Now I have to find the width of the front. So there are actually two more places that I need to determine the width for to make this actually work successfully. It's going to be a little bit trickier at the back here because we have the engines, so that'll actually make things a little bit more difficult. I'm not going to be taking the engines into account at the moment. I'm just going to go ahead and take the measurements of these two areas here where there's like where it changes in slant and stuff like that, so that I just know that area as well. And then we're going to have to calculate some lengths, but luckily I can use the same formula that I've been using here to calculate the roughly exact lengths in terms of blocks that the rest of, like, from here to here will be, or from here to here, that kind of thing. Okay, I have every single width dimension that I believe we're going to need right now. I don't have anything marked here for this area because it's actually just, that's the total width is from here to here, because that's the widest part. And I don't need this anymore. That was our reference point, but I do have stuff marked at every other place where the width would change. And so this right here, you can kind of see it. Let me zoom in a little bit and go over there. That right there, this is 16 blocks. And so this is the very smallest part of the Star Destroyer, and that is still 16 blocks long, which is, if you think about it, not a small distance, and that's the smallest part. So that probably might give you some idea of just how big this is going to be. It's going to be even easier to see later on when we actually start building this in creative mode. We're going to be building the frame of it. I'm not building the entire thing. I am just going to build all the dimensions of it so that I have a frame that I can work with later on. Alright, I calculated all the rest of the lengths here, and now what we have to do is add all of these together to see if they actually come close to 379. I highly doubt it will be exact because of rounding, which is where I will have to actually just make modifications to it. So let's see, 175 plus We can combine those. That's just 60, 235 plus 68 plus 68 is equal to 371. So I'm actually only off by 8 blocks. It looks like we lost 8 blocks in the rounding. That should account for our 8 blocks remaining. And I'll recalculate it now that I have updated these numbers, and we'll see if that all adds up. Well, that does actually all add up to 379 now. I think that comes as close as we can get it to, I guess, perfection in this case. So, with that out of the way, I believe we have everything we need on our length and width image. Alright, it's time to do some height calculations. We're using a different reference image this time. This one is created by Jaw500 on DeviantArt. And this is basically the best image I could find that was just a side profile of the Venator. So luckily we don't need it quite as much as we need the width and the length, because I just need like a few height related things. Like I already know from basically right here up to the tallest point in the command bridge, that's 89 blocks. So that's like one of the things you already know right away. The things that I actually do need to figure out is I need to figure out the height of this area here, like the trench that is in between the two different armored hull sections, the ventral section and then the dorsal section. So that's something I have to figure out, and I also have to figure out the height in this area, and I'm going to need to figure out the height of this part of the command bridge from here basically to here or something like that, with where this part of the hull ends. Alright, so I finished this image for now. I can actually get a start on building this in Minecraft with what I have here, and I actually have them saved. I can see both of them side by side now, and this right here, it's 7 blocks. This is 19. This is 11 blocks from this to the very end, and this going up to the same level as that, it's 17 blocks. This is 48 blocks. That's 11 blocks. So yeah, I think I have it kind of figured out now. Here we are back in Minecraft, and I do have this giant thing here with like the dimensions laid out. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm going to build it in here still. However, what's likely to get changed around is the height, because I can easily find the area it's supposed to be starting like with the width and the length, but the height is a little bit difficult at the moment, so I can just raise and lower this thing depending on how I build it. So I think that's what we're gonna do, and it's not gonna look like much at first, because I'm just gonna be building in the reference width lines first. That's literally the first thing I'm gonna do, is build in those reference points. And I think I'll just probably do a time lapse of it so that you can see it in progress. So I guess there's nothing left for me to do at this point except get started. This is going to be really interesting. I've never done something this specific or exact in Minecraft before. Okay, this turned out a lot better than I expected. My math actually did hold up really well. There's only a couple things that I had to, I guess, modify a little bit, and that was because I noticed this after I already started building this, but I had a few of the measurements as even numbers for the width, and the width can only be odd numbers, so I felt a little stupid after that, but I fixed that. I rounded it up or down depending on what I felt like what it would need for that area. And this is what I have so far. I have most of the frame, basically almost all the frame on top. Obviously, we don't have anything for the command bridge. And I have part of the frame on the bottom. Now, there is more I need to do on the bottom. I have to make like these segments that go down, only they would go up from the bottom to the various points. I have not done those yet. I kind of ran out of time in this video. But I will be doing those soon. It's not even Christmas anymore, but I still have a Christmas hat. Optifine, get good. It was definitely challenging having to expand this into 3D, like with the two segments, how it goes down and back up and then down. It was a little bit challenging. I think it turned out about as good as it can with blocks. I'm not sure how I feel about how much space there is that like where the trench is going to go along the sides. I may end up like when I actually build this, by the way, it's not going to be built out of these blocks specifically, like I'm just using that because it shows up well. There may be like slabs on the top and bottom, so it's a little bit smaller, like something like that, so that it's not quite so big. I'm probably going to do that. We'll have to see though. It's going to be a while yet before I actually build it in any like actual sense of detail and everything. So it has been very helpful getting the frame. I have more work to do, not in this video, but I think we are good for today. I got most of the hard parts done. Like, it's actually honestly like the hardest part of building this thing is probably over, just because like I don't have to try and figure out dimensions, ratios, scales, frames anymore. Like, it's going to be difficult filling in these various segments here, because obviously these come out at different distances, so the slope is a little bit different. You'll notice that it's different like slope on all of these sides, so that makes it difficult filling this in, but it's not going to be that bad. I'll find a way. I'm going to just do that in survival. I'm not going to build the entire thing in creative mode. I don't see a need for that. I'm just building enough of this so that I don't have to like try to freehand build the parts that matter in survival. That's what I'm avoiding here, but this is going to provide plenty of room for everything I would want in a mega base. It's even going to house like farms and everything. It's so big it can fit a lot of stuff. And the thing is, we don't even have the command bridge, which makes up half the height of this thing. So there's a lot more room that's going to be up there. I'm not going to be doing that right now. And obviously there's engines back here. This thing's not fully done yet. But I'd say we got a really good start on this today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I had a lot of fun making it. I haven't done anything like this before in Minecraft, so it's all kind of new to me doing this, but I think it's going to turn out very well in the end. I'm excited to see this built. And if you guys enjoyed this video, then consider dropping a like and hitting that subscribe button. We're trying to get to 5,000 subscribers, and that'd be very much appreciated. But anyways, that's going to be all for today. Thanks for watching. I've been Speeve, and I'll see you guys in the next video or live stream. Bye.